Welcome to Mercedes-Benz Silver Arrows Trails Training 2.0. Now the topic for today is inbound at showroom, which means that we are going to talk about if we have a walk-in at the showroom, what is that we are going to do. Now this specific topic is going to be a little elaborate because it consists of a lot of other aspects. It includes your ambience, it includes your grooming, it includes what you're going to talk, and most importantly how you are going to talk. So as we say, Lux principle is all about three things: luxury, professionalism, and delight. And this topic will comprise of everything. Again, now because this is going to be a face-to-face interaction, we have included a lot of activities and team activities here so that the team can understand better. So we will be starting off first with the first activity, which would be cricket, where we would be dividing the teams based on somebody who is very good at batting, somebody good at bowling, somebody who's good at fielding, and based on that we are going to divide the teams. Going on further, now why am I dividing the team like this, which I will be telling you later. Based on this, now further we will move on to our next step, and the first thing we are going to discuss today is about image. It's about perception. For this, again, we have added 4 photographs here where you can only choose one item, like which means you can only talk about, tell us what is one thing that this picture is talking about, right? The picture is a camouflage of 2 pictures together, but however you would be requested to only choose one thing. And that is from where we will start the topic of perception, image, how body language is important, and what is that customer looks into you, which is a part of comfort and the confidence, right? Moving on further, we will be talking about, as I said, we will be talking about what is an image. Image is something which a customer makes in his mind even before he actually meets you. So for example, the customer enters the showroom, he talks to the lady on the reception, and she's like, for example, she walks up to you or she tells you that you are the next who are going to assist the customer. So the moment the customer looks at you, that's from where the perception starts building. So your image is comprised of 3 things. It's A, B, C, which is A stands for appearance, B behavior, and the C is communication, right? Moving on, next we will also be do you really think that how important is an appearance at the workplace? To understand this better, we will do a small activity of 30 seconds here to tell you how important is the body language. I'm not disclosing the activities because we want the excitement to remain, so we will be disclosing it once you actually meet us at the training session, right? Now, one thing which is extremely important is there's a rule called 55, 38 and 7, which is nothing else but 55% of the communication that you do, it comprises of your body language. 38% is the tone of voice and 7% is the words. Now, understood 55, 38 and 7. The problem is that we focus more on the 7% of the communication, which is the word, instead of the 93% together, which includes your tone and your body language. So our training program today will also talk about a lot in terms of how we should be focusing on this 93%. Moving on further, on the next slides, we are going to talk about each and every aspect which is important when your body is communicating, when you're with the customer, starting from your hairstyle to your earrings, to your nose ring, to your lipsticks, to your shirt, scarf, brazier, nails, pants, socks, watches, mouth fresheners, rings, nail paints, bags, and the kind of a display picture that you have on your WhatsApp or on your Facebook if it's an official ID, how this entire thing helps you in creating an image, right? For example, I am sitting with a customer and I'm talking to the customer and I'm just talking normally with the customer, right? So generally I keep. So for example, when I'm talking to the customer normally, right? Customer may not get distracted, but the moment I probably pull my blazer a little up and I talk to him like this, right? So This part is more visible, which means his entire concentration is now going to go on the bling bling, right? Which affects the concentration level of the customer, and that is what I don't want. We don't want any distractions when the customer is talking to you. Now there are times we always talk about what is the problem with wearing a green socks or a red socks, or what is the problem with wearing a very bright colored lipstick or a nail paint or cufflinks or the watches, all the bling watches that we have today. The basic idea is to avoid as much as distraction as possible. So that's the main motive. I don't want my customer to be distracted with too many rings, too many blings in my hands, right? We would also be talking about the importance of mouth fresheners and so on and so forth. And we would also share a very small video with you which will talk about the talking stain, right? Moving on further, the next we are going to talk about is the personal space that we have, like how close do you sit with the customer, right? And how it will affect your entire communication level with the customer. The eye contact, right? We say okay, general training programs, we always say that you need to maintain an eye contact with the customer. But let me tell you, if you are going to maintain an eye contact with the customer for more than 7 seconds to 8 seconds, the customer is going to feel very uncomfortable. So that is a time we need to make sure that you look here, there, or somewhere else, or maybe probably take a note so that your customer do not feel intimidated by it, right? Handshakes would also be a very important topic that we would be discussing next. I'm keeping all these topics for us once we meet face to face in the classroom session. We will do it through activity of how an handshake can make a lot of difference. Another thing which is very important, whether it's a telephonic conversation or a face-to-face, it is nothing else but your body posture, which also talks a lot about it, not only for you, but also for your customer, right? We always talk about what is the problem if in case I don't carry an MD pen, or a different type of a business card holder. Once you actually look at different kind of business card holders or different pens, it again creates a lot of distractions, and again you're selling a brand, so you need to maintain that brand value and a brand image, right? Moving on further, next we'll again do a very small activity. Over here we will be showing you a couple of pictures, and now we would request you, based on this entire learning process, of what do you think about the facial expressions of the particular people, right? We would also talk about a couple of leaders here of how their body language talks about them, right? Now let me take a very small example. We all know Adolf Hitler, one of the strongest dictators who led the world to the World War. Now, when you talk about Hitler, there is one statement which is very popular, and that is "Hail Hitler," right? So there are different ways of doing it. One is like you do a "Hail Hitler," one you do a straight "Hail Hitler," and we do a "Hail Hitler," right? These things makes a lot of difference. This is submissive. When you're talking to the customer, you're acknowledging what they're saying. How too much of a nodding of your head also means that you're being very, very submissive, right? So these are very small clues and cues we would also be talking about next. Moving on further, now because we have practiced on the ABC, which is appearance, behavior, and the communication, now we are going to actually talk about that what is it that I'm going to talk to the customer once I'm going to meet the customer. Now before we talk to the customer, one aspect which is very, very important, and that is how prepared are you in terms of going and meeting the customer, right? So I have a lady on the reception who has greeted the customer. I have already shown that that is going to be your sales manager. Are you looking for your pen inside your pocket? Are you looking for your pen in your pockets again? Are you looking for your iPad? Are you looking for some document folder? Are you looking for a price list? What is that you're looking for? If you look very uncomfortable, you're not prepared for meeting the customer, this can go as a very negative impression. So please make sure once you're in the office, it's okay, you punch in at 10 o'clock in the morning, take 5 to 10 minutes, go to the washroom, get ready, be prepared with all your equipment, because what a customer will look into you is, as I mentioned in the first few slides, and that is comfort and the confidence, right? please put yourself in a customer's shoe. Would you like to be treated with some sales manager who's not prepared, who a product manager who said, so why don't you give me 10 minutes and I'll just get my iPad. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, that iPad is not charged. Why don't you give me in half an hour? Once the iPad is charged, then I would show you a couple of things to do with the feature explanations or videos, whatever it is, right? So be prepared, and I think that is why so prepared includes, as I mentioned earlier, your brochures, your price list, your apps are updated on your iPad is charged, your phone is charged, and everything is in place, right? Moving on further, we would be talking about greeting, how we are going to greet the customer, a small exercise on greetings, your smile, your handshake, your business card exchange. Have you captured the details of the customer? Start with a small talk, usage of mobile phones, and treat every customer as your first customer. Let's discuss further in detail. Now, when you're meeting the customer, you always say good afternoon, good evening. My name is Samuda Khanna. I'm the product manager, and I will help you today with I would be helping you with the entire purchase process. There's a very important question I missed over here, and that's how are you doing today? Well, it's absolutely okay to leave this question or to miss this question at the beginning, because see what happens is, for example, it's raining outside when I'm making this training video today, right? A customer may have to face a lot of trouble while he has to come to our showroom today, probably. Maybe the maid didn't turn up and the customer had a hard day, or the school bus did not turn up. He had to rush to his office, he had a meeting, but also he had to rush to school to drop his kids. You don't know what the customer has been going through the entire day when the customer is meeting you. Any choice of words which can, so if I say, how are you today? I may had a very bad headache in the morning. My thoughts may go back over there. So avoid any questions, and that's it. You can always ask the customer, how are you doing? It's not a bad idea, but then it's at a very big risk. If he had a very bad day, then it may remind him of those negatives, and it is going to impact the conversation the customer is going to have with you. Moving on further, I think the handshakes we have discussed, the business card exchange is again something that we have discussed, and then of course about capturing the details of the customer is again something that we have discussed. Now there is one thing which we have been talking about, and which is called as the small talk, right? You can have a very small talk with the customer. It can be any kind of a communication, that small talks you can do. Like, was it easy for you to find our showroom? So how did you come to know about Silver Arrows? Were you recommended by any of your friends or family members? Remember, we have reward your friend, which is there, or refer your friend, I'm sorry, which is there. So you can ask small questions. Something which you should absolutely avoid is asking a very, very personal question during the small talk. No talks on religion and no talks on politics, right? Like for example, let me take a very small example here. So we have a lot of gurujis that we follow. There are a lot of other, so we all follow one or the other gurus, maybe, may not be. But for example, you see his wallpaper of his somebody that he is following, right? And you look at it and you make a statement, oh, that's nice, sir, I've heard a lot about him, or something like that. And the next conversation is that a customer may ask, okay, so what did you heard about him? What is that you know about him? And in case you don't know about it, it's going to turn out to be the most negative thing. Now, in the business card exchange, you need to be very careful. You take the business card, you look at the business card, you talk about it about at least for 30 seconds, and then you keep the card on the table. Avoid putting the card in your business card holder at the initial stages, or at your pocket or anything. You can, because this is the business card which is also going to help you to capture the details of the customer. So if he has given you his card, it means that you can take the information from there, like his name. At times the spelling can be different. You can take his number from there, but take permission from the customer before you take any information from the business card, right? Avoid usage of your mobile phones, although like trainings have evolved, the automobile industry has evolved, the customer has evolved, our sales team has also have evolved. Now we do not find funny ringtones when we are sitting with the customer, right? The last point we were discussing was treat every customer as your first customer. This is again very important. I may have a bad day, I may be tired, I may be exhausted, I may have met 10 customer, but that doesn't give you a reason to not treat the customer based on his looks, appearance, and or for that matter of fact, even if it's at 7 o'clock in the evening, right? On this, we would be sharing a small video with you of how or things, how you should not perceive a customer as he's looked at, right? So let's wait for the actual trainings here so that you can have a look at the training video as well. The next most important topic we are going to talk about today is the need analysis, right? Now, what is need analysis? Is basically is basically asking the customer some questions, right, to figure it out, to find out what is his need for which he is buying a car today. Ask questions, however. Now, where do we go wrong over here? We don't make it sound like a conversation, we indeed make it sound like an interview. Instead, what you should do, that a need analysis should be a combination of open-ended and close-ended questions. A close-ended questions are more like a yes or a no. Would you like to have a coffee or a tea? So it's a yes or a no, that I would not like to have anything, or I would have just a tea or a coffee. So it's just a one-word answer. An open-ended question is something which is recommended at the beginning of the conversations. Reason being, it allows the customer to speak a lot, and that is where your active listening skills will come into picture, right? Close-ended is something we will use more predominantly during the negotiation and the closing, when you have to close the deal, and that's when we are going to use it. I have added a couple of questions from our mystery shopping audit, the questions which will help you to identify the needs of the customer. Dig deeper to find out what they need, because you are a solution provider. All right. Now, moving on further on the need analysis, there are different kind of communications. I'm going to talk about 3 models of communication today. One is a sender-receiver model, where I will talk a word and it will go to you, or you will say a word and it will come to me and the end. So it's just the transmission of words that happens. Generally, the transmission model works on one-sided communication, or it is also known as the linear communication. So it means that a customer walks up to me and says that I'm looking for a C-class, and I give all the information to the customer and I tell him, sir, it comes with this transmission, it has this much of power, it comes with anything which we can talk to the customer. It's just the passing of the words, where we do not take an acknowledgement if the customer has understood or not understood. So this is like the game of an archery, where I have a bow, where I have an arrow in my hand and I'm just shooting it at the target blindfoldedly, and I don't know if it has hit the target or not. So avoid this kind of communication with the customer, where it's more of a one-side communication, or just customer is saying a yes or a no, and we actually don't know if he has understood or not. Like for example, we say, sir, आपको तो पता ही होगा कि C class में ये भी आता है, C class में वो भी आता है. The moment you say, sir, आपको तो पता ही होगा, which means that the customer, even if he doesn't know, he may not even ask that question. Avoid statements like that. The second kind of a type of a communication is a transactional model, where we believe meaning is not contained in only words, but it is also in the people. So it's about creating a shared meaning for the customer. So for example, if I'm talking about power, a power to me, if it is 0 to 100, I would also make sure that it's 0 to 100 for the other person. Or I would say, sir, I think it's a very powerful car. I would also try to understand what is that power that the customer mean by. Like for example, I say, so what is that you're looking in your car? He says that I'm looking for a very powerful car. Please try to understand for him power, is it the 0 to 100? Is it the displacement, or is it just the monocoque chassis? It could just be the build of the car. I have a very powerful car. It means that it is going to take on any impact. My family is going to be safe. That could also mean a power to somebody understand what it is. This kind of a communication will include both verbal and non-verbal communication, because it includes a little bit about the gestures also, and it includes the paraphrasing. I hope I have understood you correctly, that when you mean power, you're looking for 0 to 100, right? Now the last one is the constitutive theory. So apart from words and gestures, we also have relationship dynamics, which is our tone, our pace, our eye contact, our body language. So this theory is not merely a tool for expressing social reality, but also it means of creating it, and this is how we build the brands. Now, during the training process, we always learn about something known as the consulting matrix. For example, if you're very high on a customer focus but very low on a sales focus, you're a bureaucrat, right? If you're very high on a customer, you're only high on the customer focus, and so I mean there are different matrices. I think once I'll show you, you'll have a better idea. Basically, in the consulting matrix, we talk about that you should be there as a relationship manager, right? We've been talking about a lot on the types of communication, so we'll again do a small group activity here to see that we have understood correctly. So as we spoke about need analysis today, where we are going to understand the needs of the customer, you would try to also understand what is important for him, and what is highest on the priority and what is lowest on the priority. Based on that, when you're going to take the customer on the product demo, right, this is what you're going to use as hot buttons, and you will be referring to it. So if it is to do with family car, it is his main concern is safety. Then you're going to focus a lot when you're going to talk about the safety features, right, which is on the step 5 that we do. If in case he's more concerned about the cost of ownership, which is to do more with service packages or anything, you're going to focus more on the step 2. At the same time, if the customer is going to drive the car himself, then you're going to spend a lot of time on step 6, where you will make the customer sit at the driver's seat. These are very important things that you need to take care of. Just do not give the entire demo of the car. You need to focus on what is most important to him, and while you're doing that, you would also talk about something which is known as the fabbing, right, which we will be discussing when we are discussing the test drive. Try as much as possible that your customer should try out some features and the controls of the car. The idea is to make the customer comfortable with the car and to get used to it. The more used to it the customer gets, the more comfortable he is, the more he would go ahead and think of purchasing that car. Just imagine if you're sitting at a car for just 2 minutes, and there's a car in which you have spent around half an hour, including your test drive of 15 to 20 minutes, right? You get more comfortable, and the more comfortable you get, that is where what you would like to buy, right? So moving on further on the product demo, if in case you tell the customer that the product demo is only going to take 10 minutes and you exceed the limit of 10 minutes, tell the customer, sir, there is so much to tell in this car, I may take another 5 minutes. Would you be okay with that? Remember, in most of our training, we have always spoken about giving importance or value to the time of the customer. A customer would always agree to it, that it's okay, that 5 minutes और लगेंगे. Especially to the customers who are running short of time, you can always take a verbal acknowledgement. If in case he's still running short of time, you can always request for an appointment at home or his office, wherever he's comfortable, where you can explain the features and also give him a test drive of the car if it is possible, right? Moving on next, from the product demo, we'll be shortly discussing the test drive here. Remember we spoke about fabbing. So fabbing is basically feature, advantage, benefit and the experience, right? Now, advantage is always about the feature. So I have a feature in the car, and what is the advantage of that feature that we have? Now, the benefit is something which is always for the customer. And the last thing you're going to talk to the customer is about the experience and where is he going to experience it, right? Now, for example, you say it has a very powerful engine, or you talk something about the comfort, right? You talk about the comfortable suspensions of the E-Class, which is the most beautifully designed suspensions. You're going to talk about the sports mode, the sports plus mode, or the individual mode. You're going to talk about the comfortable seats. Let it be anything, right? So you have to keep telling the customer during the product demo that, sir, you wanted a comfortable car, so we will experience this once we are on the test drive. Now, test drive is the place where you really need to play smart, and that is where the ability of the sales manager comes in. You know your route plan. Nobody knows better than you the route plan on which you're going to take the customer, right? We have defined two route plans, which is there with every showroom. You know the pluses, you know the minuses, right? You know where the road is good, where the road is bad, where you can accelerate, and where you need to slow down. Always put the dynamic select of your car according to the road sign, the road conditions, I'm sorry. And that is what is going to make a difference over here. And experience is also about music, so you can always check on customer's choice of the type of music he listens to. If you do not have a choice of music available with you, you can always go with the choice of radio stations. Few people are more prone to listen to 93.5. There is somebody who may listen to more of 104. There are few people who may listen to 104.8 or 94.3. So based on that, create the experience for the customer. Now this is where you can also talk about, or you can keep in mind the feedbacks that you must have got from a couple of your customers, right? Like for example, there's a customer who may walk up to you and say the AC is not as good as a 4-zone AC, for example. Or a customer may have spoken to you about an Audio 20's experience. Now this is where you can make the customer feel the difference, feel the experience, even before the objection comes in, and that is where your need analysis will play a very important role. In need analysis, if you get to know that he has been to any of the competitions, you know what is that they are going to talk about, and you know unconsciously or subconsciously what is that you're going to tell the customer during the product demo or during the drive. The last one is that we are not focusing a lot on finance here, because finance is going to be a different topic. The only one thing which I would like to tell you here is give options to the customer, but at the same time let the customer do the calculation. The more he is going to do the calculation himself, the more he's going to understand it, and the better he understands, he will feel more involved, and once he understands the finance, it is a cakewalk for you to close the deal. Now on the closings, you have to, it's like at every penny counts. You have to make sure that every single minute that you get with the customer counts, right? Now for example, a customer running short of time, the best way to squeeze out that little time with the customer is to drop him till his car, even if he's not running short of time. See, for example, you did a great opening but your closing did not go well. It would mean, so when he's going back home, he would take an impression with him, which will comprise of the way you dealt with him at the beginning and at the end also. So focus on the closing as well. Thank the customer, drop him till the car. It is absolutely okay. It doesn't matter if you just open the door for the customer, make him sit, make him feel great. Now in the end, we are going to talk about little on the buying signals. If it is important for you to maintain the body language, you look at it from 93%. Now you also need to make sure that you look at it from the same percentage for the customer as well, right? So look out for those buying signals. When you're talking about certain aspect, if the customer starts looking at his watch, it means that he's not interested in it. If you're talking to the customer and he turns his chair a bit and looks at the door, it means that he is not interested in what you're talking about. If in case he leans towards you while listening, or he suddenly goes back and he's just not interested, he sits like this, it means it's getting boring now. Suddenly change the topic. Look at the feet also. If are they pointing towards the door, just go about it. This would also will help you a little bit in understanding. Look at the eye contact. Is he looking at the ceiling, looking here and there, not interested in what you're talking? And the kind of questions the customer asks. The moment customer asks more specific questions like, do you have this car available in red color, a beige interiors, or can I get a brown interiors? It means you've started already imagining the car as his car. When he's talking to you and he's standing next to the product or the car that he's planning to purchase, is he looking at you? Is he looking at the car while talking? These are very small buying signals, but if you start noticing them carefully, you would soon be able to close on a deal. Now, with this, we are closing the topic for today. There is so much more to talk when there's a customer at the showroom. We would share the same in the next video with you. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day. Welcome to Sales Training 2.0, a great initiative by Mercedes-Benz Silver Arrows. Thank you.